This is the amazing Rory Gulak, and you are listening to the Armchair Bookers Podcast.
After a lovely 52nd episode, after the year episode, we are now in the first episode after our 1 year anniversary. This is episode 53 of the Armchair Bookers Podcast, all about wrestling from everywhere. You got Fridge, you got JK, myself, you got Stoney, you got Ref, who is fucking hurting himself over there, and you got Mav.
Constantly. It's ridiculous.
It's basically he gets on the podcast and he hurts himself.
It's really, it's an incredible feat that I continue to do. But
this is year
I
two.
am the man of the human experience. I want to experience pain, pleasure, all of it.
So, year two, day one of year two, we already have an accident on the job site. Are you fucking kidding?
Reset the clock. Yeah, but it didn't even get to one anyway, so it doesn't count. We were still at 0.
I'm going to talk to the ref about numbers. You can barely count to 3.
And we know about refs and ref bumps. He's going to be out for like the rest of the show.
It was my hand, so probably about half the show.
I feel like if you go by all other refs, they basically hit you in the hand, you do a backflip, and you're down for 10 minutes outside the ring. And then we're going to have to call. We're going to have to call like Mav over to come over and like count the 3.
I would have to slowly lay down. Because I would hurt something else.
Are you just made of glass?
Yeah, I feel like I'm Mr. Glass. Yes.
All refs are made out of glass. Well, most refs are made out of glass. Ref Aubrey is not made out of glass.
No.
She's laying down the law.
Ref Aubrey putting down the fucking hammer at Double or Nothing.
She was a stud. She's named Studette. That elevates people.
It does. You rocket strap people with that segment every week. On the IG, follow us at the Armchair Bookers Podcast.
Check out this segue. If you're the first-time listener, you can check us out on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Podbean. Because you mentioned Instagram, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and we are on Twitter. YouTube, we got a bunch of interviews and episodes going over there, some cool shit. Instagram, we got Stud and Studded of the Week, where we choose some of the ref chooses his favorite wrestlers of the week. And we got a bunch of cool things going on over there. If you dig what you're hearing, please subscribe, comment, and leave us a rating wherever you're listening. And support the podcast by checking out Armchair Bookers on ProWrestlingTees.com/ArmchairBookersPodcast. So we got some things to talk about this week. We went ahead and recorded a review of Double or Nothing. Check that out over on the YouTube. It was me, Stoney, and Mav. We had a lot of good things to say about it. We'll talk about it a little bit on here. But today, one of the main things we got to talk about is about another podcast, about a wrestler named Jon Moxley. He went over to our good friend Chris Jericho on Talk is Jericho, big fan of the show, and he had some incendiary words to say about WWE. So I think we're going to kind of talk about our main topic today.
Were they incendiary, JK? Fuck me. I can't say incendiary. Leave that in, because that's funny. Oh.
Did they light a fire?
Did they light a fire? Were their words inflammatory? There we go.
Well, I think that's going to be our topic. Is AEW already having a stranglehold over WWE? And is WWE already feeling the effects of a new promotion like AEW? And let's start there. Let's start with Jon Moxley. Start about some of the things he was talking about over on Talk is Jericho. Because he did say that he was appreciative of all the things that WWE provided him over the years, which is really cool. Like, I can totally get behind that. That's what a lot of wrestlers say when they leave. It's not that they don't recognize what WWE is and was to them and don't recognize the opportunities, but then when they get into the character, they get into like some of the things that WWE represents about pro wrestling and their stamp on it. That's where I think we saw a lot of his frustration, and where we see a lot of people's frustration, honestly.
He complained about the exact same segment that we said was just awful. He knows the fans, we everything that he said, from the leukemia jokes to the pooper scooper to the needle in the ass, we have an episode completely talking about that. And I'm not saying, pat us on the back, you should, but I'm not saying that you have to, but you should.
And you should pat us on the back that's wearing that lovely Pro Wrestling Tees shirt. ProWrestlingTees.com/armchairbookerspodcast. Look at you.
That's phenomenal. So like he knows, because most of these guys seem to know a lot of great talent is going to be leaving, man. And I was always the skeptic of AEW, because seeing is believing. I believe they've already changed the wrestling world. Now, is it a change that the other side recognizes? Well, that's something that I think we're going to have to dig deeper into as well.
I actually had something about that a little bit interesting. Because people were talking about Sami Zayn coming up and saying AEW on Monday Night Raw. It was definitely shocking for sure. But I mean, what's WWE supposed to do? I mean, if they mention it, then AEW gets publicity. If they don't, the fans are going to be like, oh, you're just fucking scared to mention AEW. So I think they were in a bit of a lose-lose situation there. That one I got to be on the side of the company. I think they did what they could. I don't know if it was them that did it. I don't know if it was Sami Zayn that just kind of went into business for himself on it. But it was cool. I dug it.
I don't know. That seemed like a shoot to me. That did not seem like that was something that Vince would script like that.
You don't think so?
Because up until this point, they've made zero mention of it. With the exception of, Triple H telling Billy Gunn that Vince would buy the Pissant Company just to fire him again. That's the only mention of it that they've ever made, and that was before it was even a thing.
Well, to be fair, I think you kind of have to say something when there's a 7-minute segment on this other promotion's pay-per-view spent obviously destroying a significant moniker of Triple H. Like, you got to say something at that point. It can't go unsaid. AEW, watching Double or Nothing, AEW fired the first shot.
That's fair.
Oh,
I can get behind that.
100%.
They played it so smart. It's literally like Cody learned all the shady little shit tricks from Vince and is using it against him. Because the whole time they're like, no, we're not going to be at war with WWE. We're not going to be at war with WWE. Nah, don't worry about it, bro. We're just going to be two separate things. First AEW pay-per-view. Smashes Triple H's throne with a sledgehammer. Fuck you, we're not at war. Fuck you, we're not trying to take some of your buy.
So I ask you this then, and I don't know if this is something you guys even want to get on topic with, but
I'll yell at anything. I don't care.
The whole Vince Russo thing about
fuck
him calling it a work. I say fuck him. But do you think there's even the slightest possibility in the world that it could be a work?
If it came out of Vince Russo's mouth, fucking no. Listen,
Yep.
I have no care in the world for it. And also, bear in mind, from what we know, there's never really been communication with the Khans and with Vince. There's never been any sorts of communication with that whatsoever. In some fucking universe, in some universe, not this one. I think Vince Russo just sees the hype around AEW, thought, what shit could I stir? Came up with a bunch of words in the English language, threw them in a blender, and vomited that out.
No, and I even said off the pod to you guys in the group chat, he hasn't been relevant in 20 years. I could give two shits about what he has to say.
But it stirs people up.
It's just putting it in the universe like that makes you question. Just like, is there that chance? I say fuck no.
Yeah, and that's what he loves to do. He loves to stir up the emotion and the reactions from it. That's all he does. That's why when Doc said he wants to interview him, go for it, except that as soon as you disagree with him, all he does is yell and scream. He calls you a mark. He calls you an idiot. He says that, all the credit belongs to him. He's just one of those people at this point. He's just like any other fanboy behind the keyboard who just likes to bash everything about wrestling. He's not worth the stir, but that's what he does. And he did, because we're talking about it right now. And, there's always that, because he went right back to, Paul Heyman and Vince having a, backdoor handshake going on between ECW and WWE, which is basically WWE was funding ECW, at least towards the end. But that was a different type of business move. This starting an entire new promotion while he's also starting the XFL. That alone, dude, that blows that whole story out of the water. So it's a non-story. Unfortunately, that becomes a story.
It's just, like Vince. What are you doing, bro? And by Vince, I mean Russo. It's like, dog. Like, the only good thing you ever brought to professional wrestling was the idea that you wanted to make China world champion. That's the only positive thing that I can see. Now, WCW wasn't your fault. You basically hopped on the sinking ship. But you, like, guys, he was a TV writer. His whole job is to make fiction sound believable.
Right.
So he's just spreading lies and rumors because he knows he has the power to do that, and he still believes he has the influence to trick people. Well, here's the thing, Vince. Your audience isn't the new wrestling fan. Your audience is the old Attitude Era guys that still hang around and still think what you have to say means something. You're not affecting the general public. So just cut it out because your games ain't working anymore.
Dude, it's so true. And I couldn't have said it any better. I don't think any of us could have said it any better than that. Fuck Vince Russo. And I do want to tie that back a little bit to the Jon Moxley stuff, just to bring it back, because he was talking about the way that WWE writes its current scripts and kind of takes things away from the wrestlers right now. One thing that kind of stood out to me in the interview was he was like, dude, if you guys are writing lines for me, I'm a wrestler. If you guys want to write lines for me, you could fucking hire an actor. Yeah. Go do that. And it's really like, it took me back because I was like, wow, you would assume that these guys, that's kind of their job. But I've said it before on here. I've said it off pod and I'll say it again. A lot of wrestling shows like Impact are shows about wrestling. WWE is a show about a family that owns a wrestling company. And I think something like this really highlighted a lot of that. It highlighted a lot of like how WWE goes into its writing and how it can really hurt some of these superstars.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, sorry dude, what I think a lot of people fail to realize too is that this isn't just a paycheck for these guys. Like, I think Ref and I have learned this a lot through the interviews that we've been able to do, is that this is a passion for these guys. These guys love what they do more than anything in the world. They put their lives on the line every single night when they go out there and they risk their bodies and they risk their health to entertain us. And I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, the interview that we had today, I'm not going to spoil it other than to say he spoke about dealing with an injury, and he's working around it because he literally loves doing it so much, and he has ways to work around it, not hurt himself more. And he speaks to it in such a glowing level of just passion. That's that these guys want to perform their type of art, and Vince feels like Vince. This is just like all of the show is just for him. It's like his TV show, and he forgot that that's not how it works. He forgot that once you take the F out of WWF and put in that E, you forgot that the wrestling still starts with it, dude. Like, the entertainment that you find entertaining isn't. And we're also not looking for that much of that type of entertainment, period, at all. Put these guys in the ring and let them tell the story there. They have that's what AEW, that's the bullet in AEW's gun. They're hiring wrestlers who want to wrestle.
Oh yeah, I heard it somewhere. Oh, it was here. Vince treats his wrestlers like they're toys.
Basically.
And that's I know it was you, Fridge.
Of course it came from Fridge, baby. It was mean but poignant.
Oh, dude, but absolutely.
I just, it's not fair the way he takes these guys who have such passion, like Jon Moxley, about what he wants to do with his character, and it's just like, no, you're gonna do this. This is good shit. You're gonna talk about pooper scoopers, and you're gonna fucking do all this weird shit that doesn't make any sense to who you really are. But you claim this is who you are. This is why the people love you. Like, you have no idea why the people love this man. You're just feeding shit down his throat.
Right. And I want to actually highlight a few things that you were talking about, because you basically highlighted some of the things I wrote down here. Like, so just some key things that he said. They take wrestling away from you. I hate my own character. Pooper scooper. I had to write a pooper scooper because holy shit. But the pooper scooper thing was rough because it was in there that he was just like, you know, Vince basically saw what I was and turned me into something that I wasn't. Like, was like, oh, you're like the lovable, kooky, zany guy. And I've brought this up before, ketchup and fucking mustard guns. Like, are you kidding me? You see a guy like Dean Ambrose down in CZW, and okay, go even to FCW when he was having things against Seth Rollins, and he was like an unbeatable psychopath. That was just like, Seth, you can't beat me. That rivalry down there, I think, trumps what they were able to do on the main roster. You have a guy that could put that work out, and I think we're going to see that in AEW.
I think a very great example of the two different styles we're going to have going forward between manufactured lines and letting your wrestler read the crowd. MJF versus EC3.
Mm-hmm.
They are essentially the same character. One gets fed lines every week, and one went out there at a packed Las Vegas stadium arena, read the crowd, and got so much real heat, became the top heel in the company in 5 minutes.
And very little he said was overly offensive. Like, he didn't have to go and bring up someone's sickness. He didn't have to do anything like that and bring up a dead person. It was, he came out and he healed on the crowd. He said some, like, oh shit things. But, like, there wasn't anything that was outwardly like, why did he say that? Like, oh, okay, that was cheap heat. And he still made everyone mad at him. He got me mad at him.
He got the words horse professor over.
It's
He's
true.
good. He's 23 years old. That's crazy to me that he's able to do that kind of work as a heel. I mean, he almost became the best heel in the business overnight. You know, people like he immediately set a mark for himself, and it didn't even just that was after the press conference he got carried out of during, I believe, Starrcade. You know, this dude went all out with this personality, and he showed it the entire weekend. He's like that new school character, that old school flair where he keeps the character, and I love that.
Hell yeah, dude. And AEW needed a heel like that. Like, I kind of saw him like The Miz and EC3, like you guys were talking about. But I think whereas The Miz took a while to kind of get his feet under him because of, you know, whatever reasons, I think MJF right out of the gate, at least in this stage of his career, is coming out strong. Like, it's not going to take him a while to build that character. Whether it takes him a while to hit championship gold or not remains to be seen. But with him, his character's already there. And all he's going to be able to do is develop it from there.
Oh, yeah, but he's been developing this heel presence since he got on Being the Elite.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, like he's had all that
great
time to work that character up to now he's like, cool, now I can bring this to a live television audience and really show them what I can do. You know, I saw a lot of potential in him when I started seeing him on Being the Elite. Just the way he would play nicey nice with some of the guys, and then he would be a dick to the other guy. You know, like he really played that character well, but it was like, I'm innocent, you know?
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of potential there.
Especially
really,
when he threw
really
the
does.
meat over the banister for Cody's dog.
Right.
Like, oh, you dick.
He just kept upping the dickheadedness of things. Like his messing around with Adam Page, and then went into an indie event. Like, if you watch that lot, like at speed, that takes a lot to get the timing down. And he was flawless with it because you can't. Everybody else their backs were to him. So just to manage that type of environment and manage the crowd, that much of a crowd with that type of persona was terrific.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I'm wildly impressed.
I want to bring up something that I brought off pod a little bit. And by the way, you always hear us say off pod. We talk to each other outside of the podcast. That's what we do. We got a text thread. So we say off pod. A lot of this stuff comes from just our general convo. But I posted something on Twitter and off pod a week ago, let's say. And it was based on what I've seen from the AEW camp. I'll say this. NXT is the perfect template for modern wrestling. One weekly show, not too long, approximately 5 pay-per-views a year. Seems AEW's plans aren't too far off from this, but what's the difference? Budget and belief in the talents. I think that WWE did a really good job with the NXT model for the modern wrestling fan. I think that anything that goes on the network is for the hardcore WWE fans, for the people that are going to come to WWE to see a bunch of stuff. But if you look at something like 205 Live, it doesn't have a lot of eyes going to it, again, because it's on the network. You know, people still have visibility on TV. I think that NXT is the perfect model, but now you have a company like AEW who's planning on doing one show a week, 2 hours apparently, and that doesn't seem like they're going to be doing 12, 13 pay-per-views a year. So what do? You make those pay-per-views special. You don't have to drown your pay-per-views in Raw matches or SmackDown matches. You can have them feel special. And I think that's really a recipe for success. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but I think NXT was a beautiful model for it. And I think WWE's going to lose some ground because they're not taking that and backtracking.
It is a Double or Nothing and if they can keep this theme the whole way through, it's going to be amazing. It was a beautiful blend of the three major wrestling styles in the world right now. It was a blend of WWE's production value, which is second to none, New Japan style storytelling, and independent wrestling in the ring. It is a combination of the best of all three things in one show. Now, let's see what happens, because a lot of those promotions, for as much as they have pros, they also have some cons. So I'm not waiting for the other shoe to drop. I just want to see what are the pitfalls of a new company along the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, Jericho even talked about this. He's like, well, you know, a lot of us don't have the experience of being on a weekly episodic TV show. So the ones that do, even someone like Kenny Omega didn't have the visibility to it, but these aren't things that are difficult to learn. You just have to learn them. Yeah. So guys, for all of you listening and for the millions watching at home, sorry, that doesn't work here. I don't understand why, because our big place where we communicate with our community and the like-minded individuals that love the sport as much as we do is Instagram. And Instagram is very divided right now. There are people that are team AEW and there are people that are team WWE, and they're speaking they're being so rude to each other. They're speaking in such a horrible manner to one another about each individual product. And it's very strange to me why we have this feverish divide, because pro wrestling is for everybody, and that's simply a fact. And the more pro wrestling there is, the more eyes get put on it, the better our sport gets. So for you to blindly pledge your allegiance to a single entity or promotion a la WWE, you're just limiting yourself. You're not really broadening your horizons. I love the talent WWE has. There are some amazing guys and girls on there, but there's also some amazing guys and girls that are never going to get their shot in WWE, but they're going to get their shot somewhere else. Pro wrestling is for everybody, and it's meant to be watched by everybody. You don't hear any professional wrestler out there right now signed to AEW or WWE, or not signed to anyone, talking bad about this. They all love this, because pro wrestling is thriving. So for you to take a stand and say, this sucks, I won't watch it because it's not WWE, or WWE sucks because they've been ruining my favorite characters, so I'm just going to go watch AEW and be a proud AEW mark. You don't have to be. You can be fans of both. You can be fans of both and your favorite local independent promotion, which I really hope you take the time after listening to the show to Google search, look up, and support local wrestling, because that's where the future stars come from. I'm getting sick and tired of basically you're picking your favorite son and you don't have to. You're picking your favorite daughter, you don't have to. You're saying, I only want to hang out with this best friend, but I really miss my other best friend. Cut the shit, grow up, and enjoy wrestling. And you fucking marks, real quick, I saw a lot of stuff on social media where people were saying, oh, AEW felt like a really well-produced indie show. You know why? Because a lot of your fucking favorite stars come from the indies. A lot of the people on this show were from the indies or promotions that you didn't hear of. Yeah, you had some people that were in the big leagues. You had your Chris Jerichos, you had your Kenny Omegas, you had all of those big stars. Yeah, but a lot of them came from the indies. And you know what happened? Tony Khan, Cody, the Young Bucks, TNT, Double or Nothing, all these things are giving these stars a chance in a spot that they hadn't been in before. So you know what? These guys are indie stars now. Soon, hopefully, there'll be some household names, and y'all can shove it when it comes to that. Because where do you think your favorite stars come from, as Fridge said?
Last thing I want to say towards this, till we get back into our topic. If you are so anti-AEW that much, stop watching NXT takeovers because they're the same fucking thing.
Boom.
Well, that was a mic drop. But yeah, no. So listen, I think we need to circle back to this interview though, because there's a lot of things that I took from it that really stood out to me. Right, you know, for me, definitely was not about the money to Dean. You know, making this decision was not about the money. He's got plenty of things going down the pipeline that I'm very excited for. Possibly a film of some kind, which would be very interesting.
With sick Nick Mondo too.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah. Shouts, right? But he seems genuinely happy now, which is something that I haven't seen in the Dean Ambrose character in a very long time, right? And something that he said really, really stood out to me, though, is that if there was no other wrestling promotions in the whole world, I still would have left WWE. That, to me, is like, you don't get any more real than that. Because at that point, you know that this man is so unhappy with what's going on there. And I think a lot of people are at that point. They just don't know how to get to where Dean got.
That line is literally saying, "I'd rather quit the business." I mean,
absolutely.
They buried his love of the sport. That is so brutal. And I'm the pro WWE ish. Like, I'm wavering now. I'm not pro. I'm open. Okay, I'm not one of the pro marks that you guys were talking about. I want to see competition. I try to give WWE the benefit of the doubt. When they came out and they said that there was going to be a change, and some guy yelled at me after a week when I said, "Oh my God, there was no change." And the guy yelled at me. I said, "Okay, well, how long does it really take to see change? Because it's been quite some time." And not only did they not changed, besides giving the belt to Kofi, they've gone backwards and gone right back to even before they said they were going to change. It's the same people now. Absolutely. It's unbelievable how dense they're taking this new rivalry that they don't think is one. It is now. And the reason it looked like an indie show is because Cody spent almost a year and a half going around on the indies, working everywhere, high school gyms, to understand the feel of what it is to work for an indie company. He never did. Besides OVW and things like that, moving up the ladder. He wasn't traveling, trying to figure out where the next show was. He did all that. That's where the passion is. So I'd be surprised if they move into anything that's gigantic. You're not going to see a 100,000 seat stadium. That's not their plan. That's not what they're going to do, because they want it to be that intimate setting, at least right now. And that's going to be the foreseeable future. And that's what's going to make it feel really nice, just like NXT.
You talk about passion, and it's just like that's the biggest thing that I notice, is that these guys have so much passion, and Dean even says it. I'll mention one more thing about what stood out there was him wanting AEW to be good so that WWE can be good, because he wants it to be better there for his friends that are still there. That's somebody who's passionate and not angry. And I can appreciate that about the way he approached this interview, because it takes a big person to really step out of their own shoes and be like, this is the situation I went through. I went through it. It's over. I'm not mad about it. I want things to get better, so it's not like that for everybody else.
Hell yeah.
That takes a big fucking person to do.
I think that he was angry for a long time, and he's kind of gotten to the point now where he is just not mature enough, but has thought on it and slept on it enough that he's realized that it's all love. Like, do what you want. People are going to do what they're going to do. You got to be at peace with that sometimes. And I think I completely agree that he wants, with Stoney, that he wants just to make it better for his friends and his wife. who are at WWE still, and make sure that they have a decent experience and they're not stifled and pigeonholed like he was.
Vince wants to control everything, and it is becoming very apparent that he can't anymore. But what's interesting is this is the first person that's actually come out and said it on a huge platform to make sure everybody knows that, yeah, everything that you've been talking about for the last 30 years, WWE's been around, 30 plus, more. Like, you were right. It's all down to one person, and he's starting to lose his touch. I thought Jericho brought up an amazing point. He's like, how could you do this for 30 years straight, no days off, and still be passionate about it? Like, is he passionate about wrestling, or is he just passionate about his business? Because you can't be passionate about wrestling for 30 years and not take time off. I remember, I think it was something that like they did on the, like it was either one of those like documentary DVDs WWE puts out. Like Triple H and Stephanie had to force him to take a vacation. The only time that Vince, I think, took off before that is when he blew off both quads, and that was a light taking off.
Right.
So this is a man who's just built himself into his business 24/7. Is he really still passionate about it? Is this why he's really pushing for this XFL play in 2020? Does he want something different? And God damn it, I don't blame him.
Yeah, you don't know what's on the other side until you've gone there. You know, you don't know your worth until you've gone somewhere else. And with someone like Vince, you know, maybe distance would make the heart grow fonder if he was able to put more effort into something like XFL. Maybe he'd be in XFL, see his product, be like, oh my God, we have this idea, this idea, this idea. But right now, like you said, he's probably got so many other things on his mind about his business, about sponsors, about doing this, about the next WWE 24 special, about multiple program, you know, who knows? It's crazy. But like you said, I'm sure it's extremely hard for him to stay passionate about that. He just doesn't want his company to, you know, go the way of the dinosaur. So, I mean, you know, we'll see what happens going forward, but it'll be interesting. I mean, AEW really brought it with this pay-per-view. And the thing is, I don't mean that they brought it with just, you know, bringing out like some ex-WWE guys and all. The matches were great. Jon Moxley came on Chris Jericho's podcast, and in so many, I'll say this, it echoed CM Punk's interview from Colt Cabana a while ago, but it seemed less like I got fucked and more like you're
fucking everybody else.
I got fucked, but I'm just one of many people who did, and I want it to be better for other people. Like CM Punk, no offense, CM Punk said the words, I want it to be better, but you could tell it came from a place of like himself. I wanted it to be better for me. Like Triple H said live, if a pipe bomb falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a noise. No, Dean Ambrose was on top in various different roles, and you know, I think he saw himself and was just like, I'm losing myself. I've seen other people lose themselves. I want this industry to be better for everybody. But I felt like this was it wasn't just a bashing WWE. This was a real guy speaking about how it really is.
He's a wrestling fan on top of being a wrestler. He's, like you guys said, he has friends and family in the other promotion. He's got friends and family across the world who are wrestlers who don't have their shots or their chances, I'm sure. So he saw a chance to reinvent by going, you know, evolving back to that original persona, that original wild man that they never let him be in WWE, which is why I will fully admit I never liked Dean Ambrose, the character.
I gotta also say real quick, the fucking promo that he dropped, that he filmed, that's the Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, whatever you ever wanted to call him, that people were expecting when he came in. And he showed small things of that in WWE. But how over a 6-year career on the main roster do you not see that character as that? And in one promo and in one run-in, you're already showing people that that's who you were meant to be. I know some of you guys weren't really super hot on him, but Dean Ambrose's character was a little bit more rugged, a little bit more rough around the edges. you know, a little bit more of like a rough and tough grappler or brawler, that kind of thing. How does one person get it so clearly in one video that's not even WWE, and it's 6 years WWE can't do it? Are you fucking kidding me?
Because it was all him.
I know.
He did it all himself. That was nobody else's brainchild but his own. And that's what made it so much different. That's what made it so much better. There was nobody else pulling the strings.
I mean, even Cody believes so heavily in him. I mean, in Cody's interview, he just oozed he was just so impressed by Jon, and he just said, I mean, you can literally see the guy unhinge in the ring. I mean, that's incredible in itself. I mean, he was just so blown away. He's like, I am so over the moon. And that's what you want as the head CEO, president, whatever, of a wrestling promotion, to be passionate about the people they sign. The fact that he's saying, I can't believe we have Jon Moxley. I'm so proud to have Jon Moxley on my roster and have him fighting for my promotion. I'm honored. That's a big deal.
It's a great point you bring up, because it's a great thing to see, because I love that the Elite do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So you get to see behind the curtain. You got to see in Cody's gorilla position when Dean came out and he's like fucking clapping because he's like, yes! He's like so excited because it worked. I also love they didn't tell Jim Ross. So when Ross saw Moxley, he's like, oh, fuck. Like, it's just like, it was wild. It was crazy. And what an impact. You get the man. When he came out, he did not feel like Dean Ambrose. He felt like an animal that was off a leash, and he just dropped AEW's entire main event scene in 5 minutes. Yeah. That's how you make an entrance.
It was real. It was visceral. It was it was the shakeup that wrestling needs. WCW did it with the Outsiders. AEW is putting that stock behind Jon Moxley. My negative is the promo behind the scenes felt very Dean Ambrose. I don't love his delivery, but I think it's going to evolve again because the character is going to fit that much more than it did with Dean Ambrose.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? It's going to be that more manic style of an interview. I think he's not going to be in the ring just going, shrugging his shoulders, and that's what makes him crazy. It's going to match the persona in a much better way. And with the talent in AEW, and with Jon Moxley showing up, and with him attacking Omega and Jericho, the chances of a match being booked that was bad, I think it's an impossibility. But we're going to take some ideas that might not be great, and my man Fridge is going to take them to the house.
I'll just say this real quick, though, and this is my personal opinion. I think that was one of the best debuts I've seen in wrestling in a long time.
Absolutely.
As far as the impact it had, the fan reaction, everything, the way it went down, I think it was done very perfectly. And, yeah.
It felt old school.
It did. It felt
like
very Attitude Era like.
Absolutely. It felt like what Fridge said, I think a couple of months ago, where he said, when I used to watch, it was about Bray. When I used to watch wrestling when I was younger, I used to be so excited to watch vignettes to see who was coming next. And this was such a blindside. People were speculatory that he was going to come out, but no one knew for sure, obviously, except AEW. And to see him come out and to see everyone lose their shit at home and in person was awesome. And that's what's really awesome about wrestling, is that everyone from around the world comes together, watches this, and feels like a camaraderie with their fans. I mean, that's true for every sport, but it's just a really cool thing. What I want to say really quick is, to Ref's point, I do agree that his promo, Jon Moxley's promo in AEW, was a little bit Dean Ambrose-esque, but he has to grow into his character. He's been pent up. He's been caged for so long. He's been trained to think Dean Ambrose. Now that he's out off his leash, now that he's out allowed to be free and express himself the way he wants to, unscripted, he has to be able to let his personality and his opinions overflow into the ring and to do whatever he wants with them.
Yeah.
And to know that he isn't caged and he has that freedom now. He's able to say, oh yeah, fuck you. Oh, and fuck you, and give people the finger and really truly be the character he has always wanted to be, and not have to feel just weighed down by other people's opinions, writers and otherwise.
Jon Moxley is free from the prison that was Dean Ambrose.
Mm-hmm.
At least my wife can say the big words.
What's the I Book It Better segment? We have a bunch of booking scenarios for everything wrestling. Basically, you have an idea, I have an idea, one of y'all has an idea. We're going to go ahead and put it in here. And Fridge is going to book an entire scenario for us on how he would do it better or how he would book it for scenarios that haven't happened yet. He's done Undisputed Era debuting in the main roster. He's done Cesaro World Championship win. He's done a Roman Reigns heel turn. He's done Bo Dallas as world champion. And last week he did a women's mid-card belt, which was pretty fucking crazy. I don't know what's going to be this week. I really do hit a randomizer button.
Get it.
I'm going to fucking hit it now. Let's see. Ooh, all right. So this week, you have to book Gorillas of Destiny debuting in WWE.
They don't.
I'm Doc Jones, reminding you that you can find the Armchair Bookers
Yep.
Can you imagine? Like, that'd be hysterical. I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, Tama. I know you're big, you're basically all of our best friends. Okay, I got it. I got the framework. We'll do this because this is going to be a lot of fun. So you know how like there's like the club and like the Good Brothers, Brother Me Softly, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, the Big LG, and the six pack himself, Carl Anderson, and they kind of like float between old boss to old boss, like whatever show they're on. It's kind of weird how they just gravitate. I can't speak today. They just gravitate towards whoever their old boss was in New Japan, whether it be Finn Balor or Carl Anderson. Let's just divide that line right now. We're gonna stop that noise. So where are the Good Brothers now? SmackDown?
Sure.
Right? They don't put on tag team wrestling anymore, so how am I supposed to know?
I'll just say
They
they
showed
are.
up on Raw.
The wild card rule. You can use the wild card rule.
Yeah, there you go.
Wild card can S my D. All right? How about that? The Good Brothers are on SmackDown, and they're going to be hanging out with Finn Balor, but AJ Styles is going to need some backup, especially since Brock Lesnar is going to be the Universal Champion around SummerSlam. I said it. Nobody wants that, but that's what's happening, unless it's a surprise cash-in on Kofi, which I also expect, but that's another booking for another day. So he's AJ. We're going to need a heel AJ because Brock Lesnar is apparently a face now with his fucking Brock box, and it's the Brock party. And Brockalaka Ding Dong. I don't know what the fuck else to say. So Brock wins the Universal title.
JK's trying at least.
AJ is going to be up next, but we're going to have a heel AJ. And the heel AJ is going to need some backup, and he's going to need Destiny to be on his side. So we have some former Good Brothers show up and make their debut. They're going to make their debut on Monday Night Raw, probably before the go home pay-per-view to let's just say Hell in a Cell. We'll call it Hell in a Cell. This is a very fast and loose booking, mainly because I have 10 minutes and this would take a while. So they need help. So, to go home before a pay-per-view, they got to make an impact. Brock Lesnar tries to get one up on AJ. AJ escapes, and then two hooded men appear from the audience and beat down Brock Lesnar emphatically. I use the word emphatically in my bookings a lot because Vince doesn't know how to emphatically book anybody. So the two hooded men beat up Brock Lesnar, and they're wearing these weird yet familiar masks. and it's just confusing. And then all is to be revealed. God is now helping the Phenomenal One, and their muscle. And they're the good old-fashioned tag team muscle, where not only are they wrestling that night, but they're also going to help out their boss and whatever he's doing. And then that'll lead to shenanigans at Hell in the Cell, and then AJ to be Universal Champion. Really, I'm booking AJ to be Universal Champion, but I'm getting Guerrilla of Destinies in a believable spot to where they could debut, because someone like AJ a heel AJ is going to need help, and that would be a beautiful heel tag team to introduce, to be there, to be as enforcers, to revitalize a tag team division that's in serious need of it. They would be great foils for Ryder and Hawkins, because they're kind of like the anti that. And they would be able to put on classic tag team matches until Vince makes them take shots in their asses.
What's the match of the week this week, big boy?
Match of the week, it's going, a lot of what we're doing is AEW driven, so why would we not pick an AEW match as the match of the week? We're going to go with something that tag team wrestling. This is a match that I think will cause some reaction to old school fans versus new school fans. It's going to be Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers from Double or Nothing. It was it was a lot. I'm going to put it out there that way, but I want everybody to check it out, form your own opinions, of course. Look at the match on its own as opposed to what, event it was in. If I can't, I'm curious if people can take out and put that anywhere else and still enjoy it. So that's what I'm hoping to stir up the conversation on. If you really watch it and you watch it as a wrestling fan, you watch it as a fan of entertainment, and, what are we really seeing in that match?
I don't disagree at all. It is a fantastic show of sportsmanship. And
absolutely,
there were definitely some good storytelling elements in there. Like, I am not taking anything away from the Lucha Brothers or Matt and Nick Jackson. They put on a fucking show. It was one of the matches of the night for me. I think it was really hard, in my opinion, to beat the Cody Dustin match. But in terms of, action, this is where it was. My only thing is, they went into all of the video games that have ever existed in the world that had to create a character, did every single one of those moves, and at the end of them, hit a kick out of 2. Half of those moves should have fucking killed all of them. That was the only part that kind of broke me out of it a little bit. I was sitting there with the boys and girls and just like, dude, the match is over now. Okay, the match is over now. And eventually I just got kind of worn out. I was just like, holy shit, when is it going to end? But I loved it. I thought it was a great show of sportsmanship. It's just too many kickouts.
That's the biggest problem I have with it. They used to not kick out of finishers. We have that big gripe in WWE. Now it's not even safe for pay-per-views. I think that's a bad idea to give away that many false finishes, because at a certain point, the match is never going to be comparable. The Young Bucks are going to have to lose in a match that doesn't take all of that, whether they have the belts or not. They can't have that type of match over and over and over and over again, less dates or not. Okay, when they're on certain shows, they're not doing that type of match, So they set a bar at a level that I don't think is maintainable, or at a certain point even entertaining.
I really liked this match. I thought this match was great. It is a lot of what I want to see out of tag team wrestling. My only con of the match was all the false finishes. It's pretty much the only con of the match. The Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks have really great chemistry together. This is probably my second or third match, if I'm being honest, ever watching the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. Although I did see Penta wrestle Simon Grimm in a match. We'll call it that.
Live and in person.
Penta's a good guy. JK and I got to meet him. Yeah. Big fan of the show.
So it's fantastic. I am all about the super kick party. Ref is right. You can't be doing that night in and night out for health, for storytelling, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I know they had to come out guns blazing because we have to look at I think we have to take a step back and look at a lot of what Double or Nothing is all of those wrestlers, whether they were big names or not, went out there under the impression that this is the first time you're ever going to see them or know who they are. So the Young Bucks were going to be like, we're going to show you how we do tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
And they had to kind of like, that was basically their resume to the wrestling fans who did not know them yet.
Totally.
So I understand if it was a little over the top. I understand if we had some false finish. Well, we had some. No, we had all the false finishes. Like, I understand that part of it, but it was a way for them to go, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what you can expect from us.
I agree with everything you just said. For me, I thought it was an amazing match, start to finish. It's just a little too spotty, like just too much of a spot fest for me. Like if they had just toned it back a little bit and given us a little bit more of something of a more a different type of feel than just it being a spot fest every 5 seconds. You know, that was my only gripe with the match. Other than that, I thought it was amazing.
Agreed. Yeah. You could really tell that they're pulling all the stops out. Like Fridge said, and I didn't even think about it like that before. You know, I thought it was like, oh, you know, they're just going out there doing what they do. But when you think about it, as much as it is for the wrestling fans, there are a lot of people that bought that pay-per-view that have probably never seen the Young Bucks before, have only heard about them through the hype. And this was the look at what I can do. And it was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've only seen like a clip or two of the Young Bucks wrestle, and I've heard of them because of the Bullet Club, but I had never seen a full-fledged match of theirs, and I was truly amazed by their athleticism and their finesse and their precision. I mean, they are phenomenal. They're a phenomenal team, and to watch the Lucha Brothers just keep up with them and put on a hell of a show alongside them was really cool because, yeah, if you've heard of the Young Bucks, that's great. This is, you know, your 10th or 15th match watching them and, you know, continuing to be impressed by them. Then you've never really heard of the Lucha Brothers or you haven't watched them wrestle much. They proved themselves for sure. I mean, everyone, like, was chanting Pentagon's chant. I mean, he got a huge Zero Miedo pop. Like, it was insane. I didn't expect that shit. I mean, at Blackcraft, sure. Blackcraft, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Blackcraft, sure. You know, there's 100 people, 150. But, whoa, that friggin' 10,000, 13,000, 18,000, 20,000, whatever Cody's number that he made up was.
He pulled a Vinnie Mac.
Pulled a Vinnie Mac. Amount of people. Wow, I was amazed. That match had me marking out hard.
I'm Doc Jones, reminding you that you can find the Armchair Bookers podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Podbean. If you pick up your favorite streaming device, go to the podcast store, type in the Armchair Bookers podcast. You're going to find us there. Nowhere else you're going to find us. You're going to find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Get some fabulous gear on ProWrestlingTees.com. Show that favorite stud or studette what they are with those beautiful t-shirts, or become an official booker by picking up the Armchair Bookers podcast t-shirt. This is Doc Jones signing off, and thank you.
So what did you think of Raw and SmackDown this week and just everything wrestling?
Yo, that Firefly Funhouse is getting funner, bro.
It is the funnest.
It's the funnest house. Like, Abigail's in purgatory, which technically means Bray found a way to trap her and use her power, but have him in full control, which has created the Fiend. And the Fiend is apparently the personification of all Bray's desires when he doesn't have the strength to do it himself. So it's just like, it's going to be this crazy dynamic that we still have no idea what's happening. And I'm just, it's the best thing on WWE television, mainly because Vince's hands aren't in it.
And it was crazy too. Last week you had basically them just doing kind of like a recap where the kid's face is melting and fucking you see the evil side, the hurt of Bray Wyatt. And this week we went back to a little bit of that Firefly Funhouse. And it was just real cool that you could see that he can go between both of those. He can go into more of like the Blues Cluesy kind of shit, and then he can go and have more of like the Slipknot-y mask style. And that was fucking cool. Now we just got to see how he debuts.
I think that's going to not be key because this is phenomenal, but I think that's going to be a big piece of it. You know, his moveset, I hope, has evolved and switched up a little bit to a certain extent. Fridge, what are you okay?
I was just thinking, like, because his debut is going to be important, and if his whole thing is like he technically is trying to Pod Piper children, how would he do that the most effective way possible? It would be to beat either Roman Reigns or John Cena.
We know that neither of those things could happen.
Oh no, it can happen.
Well, we've been there for a previous incarnation of Mr. Wyatt, and
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's the perfect reason why to go back.
But what I'm saying is that's the perfect reason that they're not going to do it. Vince is listening. He's doing the opposite of what we say. So say that you don't want that to happen.
God
you want
damn
him to
it.
lose to both of them.
God
That's
damn
what
it,
we
those
want.
bookers are at it again.
And he also this week didn't have the mask. He had a fucking paper plate with the mask drawn in it. Like, what a lunatic.
It was too scary for some of the kids.
Oh my god.
I mean, it is fucking scary.
It
There's
is.
children on screen.
Well, you know what? Your fucking kid shouldn't be up so goddamn late.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have people like the New Day and Bailey as, you know, stars on the show, kids are going to watch. I mean, kids watching the Attitude Era too. Granted, it was different and parents knew what their kids were watching because they didn't, you know, whatever. But I'm not going to get into this. But, you know.
Back then, kids didn't need a safe space. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean,
Yeah, and I'm not. That's a very, very, very tough conversation to start on a podcast about wrestling. But I'm just gonna say this: the fact that they are there's almost. I mean, obviously, us who are older and more mature and adults can see that there's going to be and know Bray Wyatt as a character can see that there's going to be an evil side to this children's show. But the kids that are watching and the parents that maybe only watch when they walk in once in a while don't realize that he's going to turn like that. And I mean, that mom that came on and said, you know, you scared my child, like, I don't know, it toes a line, but like, I will say this, the show's getting to be a little bit creepier as the episodes go on, as Raw goes on, and it's crazy to watch because I can now, but in the beginning I think he was just kind of getting into his own and just, you know, trying to make this thing work and this whole gimmick work. But now that I just saw it last week, I saw the clip of it and I was like, oh boy, that is really well done.
That's a creep box.
Yeah, that is like skin crawling creepy, but in a good way because he's acting phenomenally, and it's and that, like, there was, so I think it was last week where he was just like talking and he was getting all evil and he went into it, got his mask on, everything, and then he was like, who wants to play Limbo? And he like
dark, man,
bridge crawled underneath it. I was like, where am I?
And then the kids again,
Funhouse, baby.
The kids just looking at each other, dead-faced.
I have kids, and I tell them it's fake. It's not real. It's a TV show. That's how you deal with it, parents. That's it. It's that simple.
Absolutely. And to touch on that, Brock Lesnar apparently learned that he has a full year to cash in his Money in the Bank contract after MC hammering it down the fucking aisle.
Can I just chime in on that real quick? How long has he been in this fucking company? How does he not know he's got a whole goddamn year? Like, what the fuck?
He barely shows up.
It's
You mean to tell me he doesn't at least know that much, though?
Nah,
Like, get
he
the
doesn't
fuck
need
out.
to.
Come on.
To
I
be
get
fair,
it was all a fucking work.
I was
Whatever.
gonna come on here and bury him for that, but then I thought about it. It totally fits his MO. He doesn't need the money in the bank. He just comes in, beats the shit out of people, wins the championship, and leaves for half a year. That's cool. So I could get where he's just like, oh, okay, I just come in, fuck this guy up. Great. Like I don't see it as like burying the company or anything like that, you know. But it's still like, listen, that was a funny segment. But what's he doing dancing?
I don't know. He's just trying to piss people off, and I think what's going to end up happening is he's going to cash in. He's going to attempt to cash in on Kofi, but he's pissed Seth Rollins off so much that Seth is, excuse me, going to end up coming in and thwarting his cash in.
That'd be cool.
I think you guys are going to yell at me. Taking Brock Lesnar and what he's doing outside of who he's doing it to, because I think they're doing this very, very incorrectly in terms of his interactions with the champions of the company and their interactions back, like their answers back. But Brock Lesnar, at least we're seeing, we know he doesn't care about us. We know that. We know he's there for the paycheck. When he came and didn't even have a look on his face, it's just embarrassing. Now, at least, his disdain for the business as a whole, and in terms of just just cashing the checks of it, at least he looks like he's having fun. And at this point, he's got energy. And at this point, it's something else that's creative and kind of goofy, and I like it. He completely botched the plan of it, which I guarantee was to flip the briefcase over and actually hit a button to change the music, but he didn't seem like he had any intention on doing that. So it seemed weird when the music would just play over and over again, or each entrance song. But that notwithstanding, I'm into it. The whole I didn't know I had a year to cash it in is exactly him. He's that big, but he doesn't care. It's whenever he wants to cash it in, is just when he wants to take the championship. And I think that's kind of what they're saying with it. I'm into it. I think Rollins' reaction is the best of just like walking out of the ring, and I think that is the fan reaction. And then Kofi trying to be there to muscle in and stand up is the way to build up him as a champion. So I really think, in the grand scheme of things, I don't know what the end result was going to be, but I was into this.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it totally fits Brock's character. It totally does. But let's not get it twisted. The best part about these entire segments was Paul Heyman headbanging and air guitaring to Seth Rollins' theme. That made my year. It was amazing, especially when he went for the double time and then just started going crazy. He's just like, I was like, yeah, this is great. I loved it.
Awesome.
I agree with you, Ref, that he looks happy and he looks like he's having fun. I'm just over him. I just don't care.
Yeah.
The reason we started this whole thing and what our last episode was about was how much we can't stand him and how over it, at least I am.
It's how we started it and how we start year 2.
Yeah.
It's basically
Literally.
the blood that carries this podcast.
I mean, truly, he's the blood that runs through our veins.
That hatred.
Yeah. Honestly, Brock's just like all of us fucking Tuesday morning watching highlights, just catching up to see what happened on Raw. And this fucker is like a part-timer. I mean, that's going back to the point of the fact that he doesn't know it's going to be a year. I mean, he probably doesn't even like know truly what the rules are to no disqualification matches. I mean, but I agree with Ref here that like he looks like he's having fun, and from going, I think most of last year, they barely even let Brock grab the mic from Paul,
right,
or have Paul passing the mic. He pulled the mic out of Paul's hand and he actually said a full sentence, a few of them, and it were good. And it wasn't dog shit. I mean, I'm pissed off that he's even in the same thought process and in the same sentence as Kofi and Seth right now, but I think he's at least not embarrassing himself. I mean, the whole Brock party thing and the boombox and all that stuff, like, yeah, it's kind of stupid, but guess what? There's stupid gimmicks in WWE. I mean, it kind of makes people hate him more, sure, but at least he's not coming out in assless chaps.
This is true.
Yeah.
What did you all think
me-
of? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying. For me, it's just like you've booked him all this time as this monster of a man who comes out with no funny gimmicks, no funny business, and now you have him coming out dancing to a fucking boombox briefcase. Like, for me, you know, like if you're gonna have him be built up as such a strong, powerful character for so long, don't immediately turn around and be like, oh, now he's gonna be a dancing douchebag. Like, come on.
But you know what? It also does fit a bit of his character to be a little bit of a dancing douchebag. But you know what? What did y'all think of Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins in the main event? Because that was a solid main event.
But pointless, because it continues to not do anything for Sammy, and it was just a match built out of nowhere, in my opinion. We knew it wasn't going to end with Rollins losing. Like, I felt like there was no story to tell with it. It was the main event, and there was no story with it. That sucks. The match was great.
Yeah.
The match was great.
That's more what I'm talking about, because we know that WWE can't do storytelling. So I just couldn't judge the match. The match I thought was really good.
The match was fun.
Well, I wonder if Sammy was maybe supposed to win it and then didn't after his little slip up mentioning AEW.
Oh man, that was some crazy shit. And I know we talked about it earlier, but I wonder how intentional that was.
I wonder if that played into it. If it wasn't a work, who knows?
I honestly don't think it was. I mean, you know, JK made a good point off pod saying that, you know, because they did cut out his AEW comment from the video they posted on WWE's YouTube channel, that you're not going to, that's almost like unprofessional. Like, you're not going to post that along with everything else that had happened on the show. It doesn't fit the recap, but I think if it was intentional, it would have been kept in there, first of all. Second of all, I made the point as well saying that when it came to Raw on Monday, either they were going to oversaturate the show with AEW talk, or they were going to not mention it at all. So to have one random comment that was basically almost erased from history once Raw finished airing maybe shows that they might have even said to everyone in the locker room, hey, just do me a favor. Don't mention AEW tonight. We don't want to bring any more attention to them. We're WWE. They're AEW. If they choose to say stuff about us, that's fine, but we need to stay in our lane. And
Right.
Sammy's like, honestly, I'm pissed. Like, I've gone through enough the past couple of years. And also, they put him in a segment called the electric chair. I mean, if they were trying for him not
Garbage.
to be talking about, seriously. I mean, that was so dumb. With Corey Graves in the ring, I'm like, guys, really? Is this really the end of the line for you, writers? Like, are you really, like, have you cut a hole in the bottom of the barrel and kept reaching beyond it? Because this is stupid. Seriously.
Right. And this was
You know?
supposed to be your answer to AEW. Let's
Double
talk.
the nothing.
Goes to show.
Let's
It
talk
goes
a
to show
little
that you're
bit.
nothing compared to them.
Let's talk
Double the nothing.
double the nothing. Let's talk a little bit about SmackDown. I always feel like talking in the week, if we talk about SmackDown programming, that there's a saving grace there. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I felt like SmackDown was pretty cool this week.
Before JK, I'm sorry, I just want to jump back to Raw for what was the best piece of Raw and the best piece of WWE for a little while. Ricochet versus Cesaro.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Oh,
These
my
guys are made. That's a. Oh my god. It just. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want. It's just unfair that these guys aren't where they need to be because it's again log jammed at the top. This is criminal. This is what happened to Finn. Now we're gonna lose Ricochet in the same cluster fuck that we lost Finn in. This is terrible to bring. This is what Brock does. This is the Brock effect. It puts on hold all the young, dynamic talent who's right on the cusp of making this company some serious fucking money, and they don't see it in these guys. It's unbelievable to me that they'd rather continue to spend money out of the pocket for Brock instead of letting these young guys bring the money in for them again.
Oh yeah.
They're not hard up for cash. Let it reset. You had to do it before. You had to muscle through the dead era in the early 90s. You muscled through and you came up with a new game plan. Take the step back and reset the channel a little bit.
I would agree with
because
that.
you're going to get lost in it. Lose the war, I don't know, but you're going to get lost behind an 83-week streak that might go quite a bit longer if you're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Aleister Black, though. Because, dude, Aleister Black hasn't been on TV recently. But, dude, these promos that he's been cutting, I'm interested to really see him come back.
Perfect. It is setting up anybody to step in his way and to bring him out. I love it. I love Aleister Black. A lot.
Go.
I think I said this to you guys off pod. I could see Aleister Black being the return feud for Bray Wyatt,
Ooh, that'd be
which
nice.
I think would be fucking awesome.
That'd be fire. Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really nice.
Do you think he'll come back as a... Like, let's say, though, real talk, do you think he's going to come back as a face or a heel?
Right?
If
They're
they let him
both.
feel the crowd and have an avenue for, a little bit creative avenue for both, because it already is there anyway. See how the crowd is going to react to who he is, because I think it's going to get a lot of cheers because he's been gone for so long.
I can
And
see
people
that.
like him. People, overwhelmingly, Bray Wyatt, people were fans of him and just got tired of it because they didn't do anything with him. It was never Bray's fault at all. He was hit the character that he developed and created the entire time through. It's not his fault he was booked to lose every single solitary match he was ever in.
Yeah, exactly.
So to see him come back, I think people are very, very excited. I think that the character is dark enough that those fans who like to cheer the bad guy a little bit, they're going to be like a John Cena, we love you, John Cena, boo, John Cena, whatever. Bray might get that kind of split reaction. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But I think he's going to get cheered more than not. But it doesn't mean his character has to change. It doesn't mean his character has to start saying nice things. Nothing. Just let it be the character and let it develop. Let the fans react how they want to.
Let him just be. Hell yeah.
WWE is as subtle as a sledgehammer.
We got
Because Vince doesn't want to see those lines blurred a little bit.
Right. We got to be able to see these characters grow and develop. And I think that's what WWE is real scared of, is that happening organically, because it's not something they can control.
Totally.
What did y'all think of the 24/7 rule this week?
If that was the only gimmicky thing that they did, I'd be fine with it. I would love it. I think
I'm just
R
happy-
Truth is the greatest champion ever.
Absolutely. I'm just happy the night ended the way it did. I predicted it.
That's why you're happy.
That's why I'm happy. Because literally the minute that R-Truth dropped that title to Elias, and I knew he was in the main event with Roman Reigns, immediately in my head I said, R-Truth is going to win that title back with the help of Roman Reigns.
Oh,
And that's exactly what happened.
I couldn't
I like
agree
it.
more.
So I'm happy that went down because I was really upset to see R-Truth lose that title. I think he's been doing a really great job with it, both on WWE programming and even on social media, going around posting, talking about the European Championship. Like, it's one of the funnest things I've seen lately, and I'm happy with it.
I forget that. It's just ridiculous. But it works. And he deserves it. And it's unbelievable that Elias is his only belt that he's ever won
that.
lasted 30 seconds, and that's the one.
No, it was
Damn.
more than 30 seconds.
5 minutes?
No, he had it for about an hour or so.
The only belt he's ever won, he had for an hour. Come on, man.
Gotta give him a little more credit than just 30 seconds, bro. Come on, he had it for a whole
My
hour.
apologies. An hour. My apologies. Congrats,
Yeah,
Elias.
Elias is a shit.
Congrats.
My bad.
Everyone-
No, but
So
I agree. I agree on
happy
that
about
point,
it.
though.
It's just
I agree on that
crazy
point.
to me. That's what they choose. It's just weird. I
And
just
like
don't
I
understand.
get Shane trying to get the whole like the heat thing going on about I'm gonna suspend the 24/7 rule so you can prepare for this match and not be bothered. Like I get it, but as soon as he said that that's what he was doing, I knew how it was gonna turn out.
Right, you knew what
And
was
it's
going to
just like-
happen.
Yeah, and at this point, like for me, it's just so predictable, and that's like I've loved watching this product for so many years, And now it's to a point where it's like I'm sitting here watching it and I'm like, I know this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. And then it happens.
Right.
And like I need something different, and that's why I'm so excited for AEW. One, because I'm finally gonna get a product that I can't fucking predict because I haven't seen anything of them other than Double or Nothing. And then hopefully on the other side of that, it forces WWE to step their game up.
It has to. But I'm afraid because what we got, and Jon Moxley said it, and we've heard it many times before. The show isn't decided, and I'm going back to Raw a little bit here. The show isn't decided until like the minutes it comes up to start, and even during things are changed. So you're telling me that after the reaction and the everything that AEW was, and even with SmackDown, everything that AEW was on Saturday, you couldn't come up with something better by Sunday or even Monday up to 8:59 Eastern Standard Time?
Isn't
You're
that a
telling me
shame?
that you couldn't even figure out how to make the 5 hours that you demand the wrestlers that the fans watch? You couldn't come up with something better?
Isn't that a shame?
Man. That's terrible. That tells us that you don't care at all. You have no finger on the pulse of wrestling fans at all.
Well, it's just like you gotta understand. You have things like Bayley versus Lacey Evans. You have Lacey Evans, who I'm still gonna go on record and say is, I would say, the uncrowned jewel, but they're really starting to put some stock into her. And you choose to do things like that. I don't know. I think Lacey Evans. I just really want to segue and talk about Lacey Evans because I think she's doing some phenomenal work. She is the best heel on the women's roster right now, bar none. I think. Her and Charlotte are definitely in the spots they need to be in. She's been doing some killer work in the ring. I think this, as much, and this kind of hurts because, again, we run a wrestling podcast and we talk about what we want. I think this was one of the cases where, while they were building her up for X amount of time, she was coming out for 4 or 5 months doing jack. When she finally did get in the ring, she delivered.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say 100%. Yeah, her gimmick is great. It's still hard for me to boo her because she really seems like a good person outside of wrestling. She really seems like not a heel. She seems like she's got a real good head on her shoulders, really just about all like amazing things. So is it hard for me to boo her? Yeah, but she's doing a really goddamn good job.
I boo her because that's her job for her to be booed, and I see her as that heel that deserves to be booed, so I boo her. But I love what she's doing, and she is setting herself apart from Charlotte. And I think that it was cool on SmackDown that they actually had them raw a little bit, because I think it's really important to Lacey's character, because it's already being, shouted around by, the moronic and annoying fans who just want to pick things apart and not let things be what they are. That they're two blondes, so immediately they're two of the same wrestlers. They're two physical blondes, so immediately they're the same kind of wrestler. That's not even accurate in the slightest.
Right.
Lacey Evans is a throwback type of character with a great gimmick that it feels natural for her, and she is a force. She was in the Marines, I believe, Army. She was something big in the military, and she's legit. She's a great person, and I'm excited to see what they do with her character. I love that her and Flair went after it.
I'm still good with Charlotte number 2 because that's what she is.
Oh man.
Oh.
I like her.
Facts.
I do.
The last thing I know I want to highlight is the fact that Andrade's cutting some fucking promos now. Dude, Andrade's been putting in work. I know that apparently he had that conversation with Vince where it was like, hey, you got to learn a little bit of English to get over. Dude, he could be with Zelina. He could not be with Zelina. I hope he stays with Zelina. But the promo he cut was amazing. He's like, I'm not afraid of the demon, basically. And you're just like, hell yeah, this is great. More of this, please.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Vince is wrong, right? It's not my feelings on it at all. But he doesn't feel like if English isn't a strong language for you, that you're going to be successful. I think that's not getting into it all. But Andrade sees how to make himself bigger, and he's putting that work in to do so. And I think, like you guys all said, that's amazing. I hope he stays with Zelina because we've lost the art of the valet, and she's amazing at it.
Yeah.
And she's, it adapted to the more of the, the new way of wrestling when he does the tie in the ropes and she jumps on the apron and they both hit the same pose. I mean, that is what you want to see between a wrestler and his valet. Let Andrade cut some more promos. Absolutely. Let him take the stick and get after it. But keep Zelina there because she adds that extra danger to him. He doesn't have to be a chicken shit heel, but he can have that one up on everybody heel because he has some backup.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love him. I absolutely love him.
Oh boy, I think this week was really dominated by AEW, and this week was really
Rightfully
dominated,
so.
like later in the
Rightfully
week by all the stuff we talked about with Moxley, with AEW. I mean, this really was, I guess, week number 2 dominated by AEW. That's, I think, becoming a recurring theme is that even us, we're highlighting other wrestling organizations outside of WWE, and it's been a while since we could really say that effectively. No, and I'm happy about that, dude. I'm happy that now we're talking about different promotions because it makes it that WWE no longer has a monopoly on
No, they don't.
on wrestling. I don't know. I'm just really excited to continue to talk about all the different wrestling out there. It's fucking cool, man. It's cool. I know you all got some extra stuff to say, but I just wanted to say it's like 2019, year 2 of the Bookers, is going to be awesome, and it's because we're going to be highlighting a lot of other wrestling stuff too, not just WWE.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely accurate.
Exciting time to be a wrestling fan. Don't miss it by being stubborn or feel like you have any sort of allegiance to a billion-dollar company that clearly doesn't have allegiance to you. And I'm not saying to jump off the WWE ship. I am loyal. I love them. I want them to do better. That's all. And AEW can push them to that. And AEW is going to be amazing. Amazing.
Speaking of that $1 million company, I'm going right back to fucking Raw because I had points to make.
Then you make them, girl.
I'm going to do it.
And then he'll put them where they're supposed to be.
He'll push the 1s and 2s. The finishing move in the Ricochet Cesaro match. Yeah, I'm going back that far. The finishing move of Cesaro being out of the ring, Cesaro having his back to him, Ricochet. Did I say Cesaro twice? Okay. Ricochet being out of the ring, Cesaro having his back to him, Ricochet jumping in, flipping over, going on Cesaro's shoulders, and flipping him over into a small package, which might be called something that I am not aware of, but I do know small package, was friggin' incredible. And then the 1, 2, 3 tap out, I marked out. It
was terrific.
That was fucking awesome.
And the right man went over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I would love to see these two fight for the U.S. Championship. I think that would be great in a feud, the two of them, with Cesaro's new gimmick, away from Sheamus.
I don't want Cesaro in the mid card. Get him in the main event. I'm sick of this shit.
I mean, yeah, but that's where he's sitting pretty right now. He's kind of floating there.
This would be the type of feud that can reset the whole mid card and go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, where even early 90s, you win the Intercontinental belt, that propels you up. The Rock and Triple H, Stone Cold and The Rock, these guys started, Shawn Michaels, his first big feuds were for the Intercontinental belt. Let that be the belt to prepare you up to the main event. They're not doing that anymore. They're using it to keep people where they in the mid card. So flip it around. This could be a mid card feud that they can carry over for the next 6-7 years. They're that good, and they can tell that kind of story. Watch Prince Puma, aka Ricochet, and Lucha, and tell me that guy can't tell a story in the ring. And he's getting better at telling the story without overselling. He's learning how to sell better. He's learning how to to really just adapt to a less chaotic type of match, but still have all his extra flair and abilities. I think it's perfect right now. Just let it be what it is. Don't give him too many losses. Don't give him too many wins. Just keep it nice and level. Keep letting him slide up at big moments. Do it right, because the guy is unburiable, but you somehow are always able to do that. Please don't. Sons of bitches.
second quick point I wanted to make is
Sorry, I took that one over.
No, you're good. You're good. After 11, I know that's pretty much no controlling you. So I wanted to say I really thought it was very cool and a really interesting dynamic to see Nikki Cross and Becky Lynch as tag team partners fighting together. That was so sick.
I dug that, yeah.
I mean, that was so cool. I mean, the two of them I would love to see them dominate the tag team division and come up with something like, I don't know,
women's championships, maybe?
I mean, yes. Hell fucking yeah.
Because those are still a thing, apparently.
Yeah, that's right. And I loved Becky tweeted or Becky put on Instagram, like, how humbling and awesome it is to hear people say Becky won belt and to almost feel bad for you that you only have one belt. Like, Becky is a fucking force to be reckoned with, and I love it.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
But I would love to see them together. Just her and Nikki become some sort of like crazy man.
Hey, with Nikki.
Oh my gosh! Every time we bring up Nikki Cross,
that's her gimmick.
But yeah, it would be really cool to see them fight together. That's all. The end.
Agreed.
Oh my god, I love it. All right, guys. I think that just about wraps up this episode of the Armchair Bookers podcast. We got a lot of places that you could find us. You can find us over on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also find us over basically wherever you listen to podcasts, over on the Podbean app, Podbean website. We got a lot of love over there. Thank you all for that. Over on the Apple Podcast app, over on iHeartRadio, Google Play. You can also find us on ProWrestlingTees.com/ArmchairBookersPodcast. We got some sick shirts over there, too. I don't think I missed anything, boys and girls, did I?
Just to say, we have big interviews coming up. Check out our YouTube page specifically. Check out our Instagram pages to see what's coming. Big interview from today. Big interview coming tomorrow, but will be released shortly after that. Check out our additional content. New video version of the Stud and Studder of the Week featuring the ref, the man of the human experience, the man with the beard, who I can't think of something that rhymes with beard. Oh, boom. We'll take that for now.
Beard.
See, I told you, lots of floating fingers.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Squaw! I have to. It's part of the gimmick.